blind pick strong laners can stop him having some of that value through laning phase. It's been harder for him to find in summer. Leona first pick makes absolute sense. Corki's still on the table, Yone's still on the table, LeBlanc's still on the table, though lots of mid lane picks available for the two of these.
So Corki could open up a Yone for Haichao, which we have seen him play. It's his tied most played of the split because he's got 3 games on Yone, Jace, Corki, and LeBlanc. So he's been a very varied player in that mid lane. But Kanavi goes for Zyra. I feel like Zyra and Brand have been traded throughout this split of, depending on the team, which jungler is the highest priority.
Yeah, I think that somehow Karthus has just kind of fallen off in regards to that, because I think that Karthus kind of struggles to bring extra utility to the team in the way that Zyra or Brand do. I think there's an argument about whether they are more valuable or not. This will be Meteor's 3rd Brand games that will now time with Zyra. He has some really indexing in towards all farming junglers of every kind. Haichao was hovering over that Lucian, which we talked about a little earlier. We have seen that decently played into the core feed. If you can dash out of the Foss bomb, it can end up being a very powerful trade. So that's definitely an option for them, hovering over between different things there. And it will be that Lucian, so we're glad we brought that up earlier.
Yeah, so Lucian just come through. Powerful pick in that mid lane. I feel like it's an interesting conversation, isn't it? Because it's definitely a tier below the Tristana and Corki. However, whether it goes above the Yone, I mean, you could see LGD sort of debating that as they hovered between the Lucian and the Yone. It does seem that that's still up for debate, so we'll see how Haichao does on this pick, and definitely a pick that leaves open a lot of skill expression.
Absolutely. You know, I've been getting quite bored of Corki's Tristana matchups. You hit the wave, you get absorb life, you get your fleet footwork, you push a wave, and you go again. Sometimes you throw some skill shots at the enemy champion, and that's kind of it. At least with the Lucian Corki, you can kind of Valkyrie out of the piercing blight, you can dash out of that Foss bomb. That's been a lot more fun of a matchup, and when we have both mid laners in form, that's a lot more enjoyable. To me, haven't really gotten around to our AD carry champion pool yet, which to me, I mean, we've had that Ashe kind of banned away. I'm surprised that we're not seeing any AD carry bans going around into the 2nd round of it, given that Shaoye and Ruler, I feel like they've struggled to have wide champion pools, particularly Shaoye. He's had, you know, that Draven still up and available for him. He could potentially go towards that.
Yeah.
No AD carry bans in the 2nd round. That's interesting to me.
Lots of top lane bans, though. Burdol has had 4 different champions taken away. And also, the Twisted Fate was banned by LGD in the 1st round of bans. So, the only pick that Burdol has played this split that's available is the Skarner and the Mordekaiser, which neither of them particularly picks that we've seen. Like, Skarner seems to have just fallen off a cliff entirely. Mordekaiser typically has been an answer to that Skarner. So, who knows what Burdol will take now?
Yeah, it's really hard to blind pick at this point too. Do you want to pick yourself something that could potentially get countered? You lock in that Camille, but what happens now if Sheer goes for his Jax? What happens if he goes for something like a Kennen as well? There are plenty of options. Shaoye a lot more standard with that Zeri, but getting counterpicked as a Camille can be very dangerous. Oh, no, wait, no, there's oh my god, it's the first game of the day, it's 2 hours earlier, look, no, that's an absolute stinker. Right, yeah, okay, 2 hours earlier than normal, you can tell already. Right, you get some really good matchup into the Kasante, actually. It's that last pick for missing, who will probably go for a bigger engage option if it's all possible.
That right there is what we call a 6 AM call time special. That is just
don't start.
Look, we got it out of the way early. Hopefully, that'll be the only one. Hopefully. Composition's locked in as Missing goes for the Rel once more. So, let's talk styles here, because in terms of LGD, they're going to be able to get priority top lane. Lucian versus Corki, I don't necessarily know. I'd assume Corki gets prio in the first couple of levels, but then Lucian often can threaten these kind of other carries.
Yeah, I think Lucian Corki, that can go back and forth. I feel like Lucian has better early damage, but it's really hard to tell. If you get a good Foss bomb, things can go really, really badly. I think his overall team compositions, a lot of this team comp is Solar Flare, Hextech Ultimatum, Dead, Zyra, Ezreal, or Corki. One of those 3. I feel like LGD, they just have to choose their target well. If they pick off one of these carries out of position where this Kasante can't drag someone away from their carries, I feel like LGD could walk away with a quick kill onto one of these backliners and maybe take the rest of the fight. So big emphasis onto that top and support from LGD, that Leona and that Camille. Other side, make sure that this front line can get between these big engaged carries, or the engaged tanks from the Leona and then also the Camille on the top side, and get between them and their own carries.
The early game is going to be in question as well. It's something we've criticised for JDG, and it's something that perhaps LGD could exploit. I was talking about the bot lane, but with the Zeri there, not sure we're going to see that much early game action down in the bottom side, but with a Camille, with a Lucian, and with a Brand, maybe on the top side, shenanigans could occur. We're going to jump into game number one. It's JDG versus LGD, both desperately needing wins here in the Ascend group. I want to meet that guy. I want to shake his hand. That is a powerful JinJiao leader right there. He is shouting from the chest. That is fantastic.
I would let him like lead me into battle. That's the kind of voice you follow into the fray.
I think that's the idea here for the JDG fans. They really are following him into battle. And we may be following into a battle in this early game, but then again, plenty of scaling across the board here. Ezreal and Zeri both quite happy to go later on into the game as Ruler looks for an early Q, won't find anything there. I'm looking towards Burdol though, because I feel like he has a real chance to have a big impact in this game.
Absolutely. No, it's a good lane matchup versus that K'Sante. He got the counter pick, so we kind of missed out. Well, I missed out on a draft, but still, I think that Burdol hasn't really had much of a chance to play carries in this summer, and largely hasn't opted towards them too. Again, he was getting a lot of Skarner picks and the K'Sante picks. He's kind of been playing just tank duty for his team. In spring, LGD were winning through Burdol on his flanks in team fights. Typically, it was on the flanking lethality, the profane hydra Aatrox.
Propane hydra
yeah,
accessories.
now we're cooking on hydrocarbons. I joked about it too much, and now it's just changed in my mind. But yeah, Burdol was just a huge flanking threat for LGD in spring. The fact that he's found his way onto this Camille in a good matchup, in a game where there are so many targets to pick, hopefully he's not out of practice on that, because he has had a difficult summer. I think that he's stabilized towards the back end of groups. I think absolutely this guy can have a huge impact, and he has the really good draft to do so.
Yeah, and I feel like he's a player that there was a conversation of, okay, Aatrox isn't meta anymore. What are you going to do about it with Burdol? Where he was kind of this Aatrox and K'Sante 2 trick, and I feel like this split, he's trying to break out of that identity. This is a fantastic game for him to prove that that is not the case any longer. And we'll see if LGD can make it happen. But Kanavi moving down to this bottom side. The turbo speed clear as he's in Tribrush almost at 3 minutes. Ward going to be cleared away. He's not even hiding. He's not even pretending that he's not going to threaten here. But it looks like there won't be any kind of dive in the end. He's going to look for perhaps some deep vision.
And that's the big thing with stuff like these farming AP jungles. They clear so quickly, particularly the Zyra clears so quickly, that it's like, God, I mentioned this at some point before. About Season 6, Season 7 Olaf jungle, you would clear about 30 seconds faster than some of the other junglers on that kind of patch. So you'd have 30 seconds to just do something, even if it's standing in river and respond to whatever happens on the map. Zyra allows you to do that. Brand didn't get a chance to go into the enemy jungle. Takes the enemy scuttle now, and that's the topside scuttle now. But Kanavi also takes the scuttle, but also had the chance to potentially go bot line, potentially go into the enemy jungle, and ended up looking at both of those things. This is the power of a fast clearing jungler. It is a skill set which hasn't been tested that much for a little while, because we've had a lot of the Lee Sin, the Xin Zhao, stuff like that. It really has been since about 2021 since that changed. Missing on the roam, looking towards Haichao.
He certainly is. Yagao being set up in the mid lane. Haichao gets the flash away from the crash down at the last second. That's going to be his flash down, but still, lovely roam from Missing. JinJiao wants to answer it as he goes for his opposite man, and Meteor is here to follow up. That's Missing's flash going.
Okay, so mid lane matchup definitely impacted by the Rel roaming towards it, but now Missing no summoners, uses that Ignite and the flash on mid lane, maybe opens up Shaoye and JinJiao to either work within that 2v2 or for them to just push back Ruler and Missing a little bit more and use those Missing summoners to then get JinJiao on more roams like we just saw that himself. And this maybe continues that conversation we've been having about Missing, saying, okay, we know Missing has been one of the greatest supports in LPL, especially recent history. We're probably at all time at this point. This guy's got a hell of a tenure. He's not been on the best form recently. He's been caught out in some face checks, and in plays like this too, just kind of walks into fog of war and gives up something for free. We need to really see whether he can address those issues as this Ascension group keeps going on.
I mean, look no further than the JDG FPX series. Quite a few awkward moments were missing in that one. So we will keep our eyes on that bottom lane. And again, potentially a chance for JinJiao to show his quality. As Missing and Ruler trying to contest here. Kanavi had started the Drake, but Meteor warded over the wall, and it means Kanavi backs away. LGD grouping as a 3, clearing all of those wards away. But JDG don't want to let it go without a fight either. We've got a bit of a 3v3 on our hands here, as Missing has to be the engaged tool. Yagao's moving over. JinJiao goes in. Kanavi looking for the 50-50 on the smites as Missing gets onto JinJiao, but the flash comes through. The smite goes the way of LGD, but JinJiao will fall. Maybe more for JDG as they hunt for a little bit more. Shaoye forced to flash, and Ruler is going to arcane shift over the wall to try and chase for more. He's got his own flash.
No!
Oh, but he flubs it. Face planted to the wall from Ruler.
Oh, he's going to have to recalibrate the Ruler. He misjudges the distance over the wall and face plants right the way into it. Splat goes the Ezreal, and sadly doesn't walk away with the kill. Still going to be JDG getting 1 out of that play, and it goes over to Kanavi on the Zyra. Giving any gold to an AP farming jungler is a problem. LGD get away with the Dragon. I do think getting away with the Dragon and not losing that second kill makes it much more palatable. The fact that Yagao's first hit to this play changes everything. Missing used his roam earlier to win that phase of lane for Yagao. He's therefore set first to the play very soon after that point. And even though JinJiao has the flash over Missing on that Leona, he can't use it to make a big play. So JDG, with the last support plays through into mid lane, kind of went out through this next play, and we won't talk about that one.
Oof. Slightly awkward at the end there, but still a winning play in terms of kills for JDG, a winning play in terms of the Drakes for LGD, and luckily getting away with just 1 death. It has led, though, to a 1,000 gold lead already for JDG, but 3 groups were answered from LGD, and Kanavi wants to punish that fact as he starts this red buff off. But guess what? We've got another scrap on our hands as the supports have arrived. There will be no clean objective take this game as Kanavi wants to try and smite it, gets the red buff. Yagao moving over, Strangled Thorns come on down. The CC chain is there. JinJiao might be in trouble, but here comes Shaoye to clean up these kills. Health bars ticking down. Ruler arrives to protect his jungler, and now he's stepping forward as Yagao is still behind enemy lines. Shaoye will fall, JinJiao will fall, but it's traded as Kanavi went down as well. Oh, the rocket max range finishes off a bonus.
I think JDG heard us talking smack about them in their early games. Oh, it's only Kanavi if he starts popping off. Yagao is now 2-0-2 in the early game, consistently roaming to all of these plays. And both now the Ezreal and the Corki get a boatload of gold between them after some great early skirmishes come through from JDG. I don't think there's going to be anything happening within this mid lane at least, but I mean, yeah, JDG on the board early.
Look at Kanavi's items. He's already got Blackfire Torch. This Zyra is terrifying.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed that. I was like, oh, word, yeah, we'll talk about, the consequences after. Yeah, that's a really important first item completion. I will say, not a big fan of Blackfire on the Zyra, but the fact that he has 1 item at all is the problem here. I thought that this was going to go a lot worse for JDG after that Pyroclasm got such good value. Yagao is first to the play, but that Pyroclasm basically did 2 people's worth of damage at the same time. Problem is, after that point, Yagao chases 1 person out of the play, and you just see he has to battle Corki his way into the midst of it. 1 snipe on one side, 1 snipe on the other. JDG walk away with a host of kills.
I just love that that was blind from Yagao. He thought Meteor had left the play, and then Meteor throws out the pillar of flame. Yagao turns around and goes, hang on a second, somebody's at Crux, and blasts a big one over there. Who needs to face check when you've got tactical nukes on your R button? Fantastic stuff from Yagao. 2-0-2. This is a phenomenal early game from JDG. That was what we said was their weakness.
Exactly, and we did say, though, that Yagao is probably JDG's strength right now, alongside Kanavi. The fact that he's getting involved so early on a pick that scales all the same is really important. Once again, moving into the bot side jungle, getting active with things. JinJiao, he can walk forward all he wants. There's a lot of damage here on the Corki. Misses out. Look at the damage back.
Nice bit of movement there from Kanavi as shit. All out the top side onto Burdol. Health bar low. Burdol will get underneath that tower. Q3 wasn't available. Sheer not going to go for any flash plays or anything crazy like that. Just getting some damage down and crashing the wave. Or is he? Maybe looking for a little bit more. Shield comes out from Burdol, but suddenly it's gone and Sheer can start to trade again. This feels a little dicey for Burdol. I thought Camille wins this matchup.
Early game, things could get wild just because the base savages of Kasance. I was wondering that because Burdol had that cookie, which does get more powerful the lower HP you are. Whether Burdol would look for a turnaround, especially since Shaoye was running out of that all-out. Doesn't look for it though, just knows that there's another wave coming in. At the end of the day, Camille's job is not to solo kill you at level 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. It's to get to 2 items and take over the game from beyond that point. Haichao, this is the problem now. Lucian is competitive versus Corki. Not when your team has fed him 4 kill participation. That's a little sad there for Haichao. I don't really think he was betting on Yagao being, almost 1,000 gold up individually from outside of his lane.
He's even in items if you remove the steel caps entirely. That's the kind of lead that Yagao has.
That's a small difference.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Haichao to find an angle to go for the 1v1 at this point, but it's leads across the board, 1,000 gold up individually for Kanavi. There's a bit of damage onto JinJiao. Drake is back onto the map, and JDG, they have not been willing to concede any objective on that bottom side so far, but Kanavi's gone up for the grubs. And it looks like LGD want to try and move up towards that top side to contest. They're going to be way too late, though. They haven't started the Drake, so this might just be grubs for nothing.
LGD basically can't move on to either side of the map as it stands right now, though, which is a pain for them. The fact that Yagao is so controlling in the stage just before this, Ruler then goes to take over the wave clear here too. It's really hard for LGD to move into River because they're dealing with carries who are way stronger than they should do, and they're also quite good at poking at this point, even though they haven't got to their big 2-item breakpoints beyond this. So LGD, they're in a bit of a pickle here. They're probably going to lose both of these sides of the map.
I have a question. Kanavi did 2 grubs, wasn't contested, left the 3rd grub, and went to do his red buff. Why? Why not take the 3rd grub?
The only thing I can think of is that it gives the global sound when you kill the last grub, but most of the time teams just press tab and they'll see the grub count go up, so you can tell even without the global announcement. So the answer to that, Joe, is it is beyond me. Sadly, I do not have the power to tell you that answer. Kanavi, look, he's already built Blackfire on Zyra, which is probably not the item you should build anyway. Leandris is so freaking powerful, this champion anyway. He's left the grub up at the last bit there, but he's still the one that's 1,000 gold ahead. Who am I to question him?
Well, true. I mean, Kanavi has his methods. Maybe they'll ask him in the post-game interview. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
They just gave the might buff over to LG. This is really confusing.
I don't know. I just don't know. Please, jungle experts out there, DM me if I'm missing something. I'm sure I am, but I do not understand why you would not take the 3rd grub there. In the meantime, though, Drake will be taken by JDG. So 1 Drake apiece. Coming out of the early game then, as we head towards that 14-minute mark, that all-important end of the platings. It's 13 minutes on the clock. It's a 3 and a bit thousand gold lead for JDG. Getting closer to 4 as plates go down in this bottom side as well. And it feels like a lot of that gold is in Yagao and Kanavi's pockets once again.
You know what the scary thing is? There's more gold to be put there too, because JDG got this gold through early skirmishes and kills. Now, typically the way that LPL have played to get gold onto their mid laners, and this applies to pretty much every team now, I feel like last year this was a style that was pioneered by Scout and LNG. I think this has just become the norm across all LPL teams. You send your mid laner with grubs into a side lane to just hit those outer turrets. You play towards them strong side, and you try and get as much isolated tower gold to your mid laner if you can. Ooh. That's all possible. Right here, you can teleport your mid laner to a play with your other solo laner and get them to get that gold as well. Again, this is another thing we've been seeing a lot more of the LPL recently. You get all of that tower gold into Yagao. We said, hey, all of that gold right there, there's more to be given. He just got an extra 400 into his pockets from 1 quick teleport.
Really nice stuff coming out. Great punish from JDG to find an opportunity not only to finish tower, but also, like you say, to funnel Yagao, who definitely is the main character of this game right now, with the Trinity Force already finished off and half stacked on his tier as well. Ruler in a similar position on this Ezreal as now LGD group up to try and contest against this Herald, but that's a lot of poke damage that's coming out from JDG, and LGD suddenly decide this maybe isn't a fight that they want to take anymore.
Yeah, really easy to forget that Corki and Ezreal can be poke champions as long as you hit your skill shots, and largely they just did. So LGD, we were saying, hey, of the top teams, maybe this is the matchup where you can get the best early game against them, because JDG are a bit more inconsistent in that. they have rolled badly in regards to that in game number 1. They have been well and truly removed from this early game. They are, 4,000 gold down at 15 minutes. That is not a timestamp you want to be seeing that kind of lead in. The percentage gold lead right now is incredibly high.
I will say, one thing that saddens me, that's really not particularly relevant aside from Yagao being on Corki, is that we never saw Yagao winning the World Championship with JDG on Corki, because, my goodness, can you imagine the skin line for Jindong Corki that has package? They reworked Corki, so it no longer gets the package. But Jindong Express Delivery with Corki, it's the perfect combination.
Would you, okay, but would you say that if Yagao were to get a world skin, it would be Corki? Which skin would, well, you know what, we don't
Depends
get
on the
okay,
tournament,
maybe we
right?
do. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so yeah, but for you, as the Yagao history, look, you've talked about so much of Yagao's history.
Zoe.
Which champion would you pick for him? Zoe? 100%?
100% Zoe.
Right.
Maybe the LeBlanc, but Zoe, for me, is definitely his, the one that I've seen the craziest stuff. That I don't feel there are many Zoes in the world that can do some of the things that Yagao has been able to do in professional games, in finals. Go back and rewatch the 2020 finals if you want to see some incredible stuff from Yagao, and from Knight for that matter, as Siege in the mid lane. Sheer going to tank a bit of damage from Shaoye, but that's almost that tower going down. I feel like JDG just walked towards these towers with impunity.
They do, and they still got themselves some of those grubs to use, and Sheer uses that demolish on the last wave. They get the great poke out on Shaoye. He uses the ult for wave clear, and they're using another ult for wave clear right now, and neither of them have worked. What were you saying about it at JDG? And about mid laners funneling gold into their carries? Well, they just got Yagao to take top lane turret, then bot lane turret, then participate in the mid lane turret take as well, which was shared across the entire team, and that 4,000 gold lead we were talking about earlier has now become a 5,000 gold lead, and Yagao is very, very close to his second item.
Yeah.
It's only 17 minutes into the. God, if it was 7 minutes, I would disconnect from the server at that point. That'd be a little too much. Yeah.
I will say, Sheer somehow is actually the same amount up in his own lane as Yagao is in the mid lane. The biggest lead is in that jungle where Kanavi is soaring ahead of Meteor. Overall, it's a 5,000 gold lead, and typically in that kind of situation, most of the team is ahead. And as you can see, that is the case, that everybody has their own individual lead for JDG. So now it becomes a question for LGD of how the hell do you get back into this game? You got a bit of scaling in that Camille and in that Zeri, but that feels like a long way away.
Yes, I think you have to pray for 2-item Camille to do something incredible. 2-item Camille is just such a different beast, and with Kanavi's build, Yagao and Ruler, it's not like they've got themselves, they're not like mages with Seeker's Arm Guards at this point. Kanavi's going towards the Leandry's second, going for the double burn. Yagao and Ruler are also not going to be particularly tanky, so if you get a good enough flank angle on a 2-item Camille with an extra bit of damage, maybe the Solar Flare coming over it, maybe that can happen. Right now, Burdol doesn't have this 2 items, but they might catch missing. Don't quite get himself that celestial opposition. Dragon started by LGD, and they are the ones which have the better terrain right now, but they don't have the better stats.
Sheer engaged upon. JinJiao trying to be that frontliner. Shaoye moves around to rejoin his team. JDG definitely won this fight. Haichao chunked already to half HP. 4K on the Dragon. I think it might just be a 50-50 again, but Meteor, I don't know if he can walk forwards for this one. He can get flicked forwards by Sheer instead as the Drake goes down to JDG. Pyroclasm gets some damage, but Stranglethorns denies the follow-up. Burdol into the back line, but he cannot do enough. 2 for 1, and now LGD in full retreat, but I don't think JDG are gonna let them go. Ruler finds another, and Shaoye slides his way to safety.
I mean, LGD just don't have the stats. They have been absolutely smacked in the face with wallets, and JDG walk away with more kills, and they walk away with the Dragon. This is before their strongest point of the game as well. They don't have that 2 items on the Corki and the Ezreal just yet. I would imagine with the kills they just picked up, that is going to be happening on this base of the one just after that point. JDG, if they weren't strong now, they just reached kind of like their absolute turbocharged mode. LGD, they go into the objective first. That does help them in regards to not being stuck around waiting for the poke to land from JDG. They have to try and wait for JDG to, engage into them at some points, maybe they feel, because they're the ones on the Dragon, but they get pushed off by so much poke anyway that they can't force that to happen. They're the ones which have to engage beyond that point, and they just don't have the stats for it. They've eaten like 1,000,000 skill shots before the fight even comes through, and they just end up getting shredded.
JDG heard the not good at early game allegations, and they took them seriously, my lord. This is a bit of a massacre against LGD. And LGD, again, a team that have individually managed to look pretty fantastic. They managed to take down BLG in a best-of series in the placement stage. It's starting to feel like maybe that was a bit of a flash in the pan. Either that or JDG are better than BLG, dare I say it. I guess we'll find out where BLG really stand later on today. Third series today will be Top Esports versus BLG. For anyone that doesn't know, that's not a series you want to miss.
Well, if anyone out there is an enjoyer of Nightmare power rankings, I would say that JDG currently, I would say they're slightly better than BLG. The problem is it's really hard to tell when you haven't seen them playing against each other. When you see games like this, though, you have to at least entertain the question. They're grouping up. Kanavi doesn't need to be afraid to walk too close towards that fog of war. Dangerous still. Brand still does Brand things. Burdol caught out.
Yeah, Burdol trying to get the flank himself, but Sheer flanks the flank, and suddenly Burdol has to leave. And, I mean, JDG, we're at full-on 5-man siege scenario. We're only 20 minutes into the game. It's not often you see this kind of... Oh, my lord!
What?
Rocket and a true shot barrage. Shaoye is sent packing. There goes the tier 2.
That's how it looked so easy. I mean, this is 21 minutes in and they don't have the Baron. Like, at this kind of point when you've got the Lucian, you have a Shiv on Zeri, even the Brand is good wave clear. You do not expect to be taking turrets basically for free at this kind of timestamp. JDG, no, they have made this a formulaic tower-taking game. LGD, I mean, if it wasn't bad enough, they've lost even more territory, even more gold. They have double Muramanas to worry about from Yagao and Ruler. Yeah, this is not getting any easier. If it wasn't bad before, now the power spikes have truly been hit. 2 items in Kanavi, 2 items in Yagao, 2 items on Ruler. Yeah, good luck.
This is gonna be a toughie. No two ways about it. But my goodness, JDG are here to play, and I just can't believe it's an Ezreal and a Corki at 20 minutes, and they're basically one-shotting Shaoye with 2 ultimates. Also, Shaoye massively behind in CS, and a huge portion of that is the fact that he's just permanently being chunked. Anytime he steps anywhere near JDG, anytime he tries to contest a wave, he just gets absolutely obliterated.
Maybe there's a world in which the Zeri could carry a team fight, but, you know, just being able to force the flash out there, JDG landing 1 skill shot takes him down to, you know, 2/3 HP. I just don't see a world in which he ever gets the ideal team fight. JDG, they're, you know, trying to control mid lane again. They do have the Zyra. They can very much burst out that Baron. Meteor showed us exactly how to do that back in the group stage. First person to do that 20-minute Baron rush over here in the LPL. JDG, they can be afforded a bit of a slowdown if they want. They don't have to at all, though. They have the Zyra plants. They have Yagao over here. LGD have to respond.
It's like Meteor, he knows that Zyra can do this. Well, there's not a lot he can do about the fact that Zyra can do this. Baron's going to be gone as the TPs come on through 2K on the objective. JinJiao gets in, and unfortunately, that's all he'll be able to do. He drops after the Baron falls. Burdol trying to threaten a little bit, dives towards the backline, but Yagao flashes away from him. And suddenly, Burdol is stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's a double for Sheer as JDG continue to roll this game.
Yeah, Burdol thinks he sees an angle onto one of the carries on the backline. He is that 2-item Camille now, but he just can't quite land it. It is so hard to break through this JDG barrage at the start of these team fights. And sadly, Burdol now, without that flash, without that teleport, without his life, it just kind of keeps getting worse. JDG now have the Baron, that siege, which we said, oh, it looked really easy to take turrets. Without that, at 21 minutes, well, now it's only 3 minutes later. These turrets are going to be falling even quicker.
I was a little bit nervous that today we start in Beijing and the other 2 series will be in Shanghai. I thought, oh, we may fall behind schedule. That would be rough. I don't think with JDG in this form we're falling behind schedule today. My goodness. 10,000 gold up at 24 minutes. JinJiao has to be the one to face check, but he regrets it immediately as Ruler just continues to completely whip everything into the enemy team. Ruler, what are you doing?
Huh? Dude! What? Why would you do that? It just feels like the Ezreal curse has come back to the LPL in style. Gala does it. Ruler does it. So many of these players have just lost their heads. I mean, why would you do that? This is during your Baron push.
I don't know. I just don't understand. Strangle Thoughts comes out from Kanavi. Not sure if that was to cancel recalls. Yeah, just Ezreal things. Just I love how it was like completely whiffed the WQ, completely whiffed the ult, and then it E into the enemy team. It was like maximum failure on the Ezreal.
Okay, look, we go back. Look, I don't want to talk about this. Look, the Baron goes down. Sure, cool, whatever. I guess we're going to see Burdol miss his combo. You know, when you're behind in a game, you really don't have that much margin for error. He tries to get himself out of Fog of War. He charges up his Q2. Doesn't quite manage to get himself within that, like, the flash E range, and Yagao ends up living beyond that point. Really good reactions to that, folks. What the heck happened here? So he throws the W out, and he wants to get to the ult after that point. Why?
I guess he just didn't realize Burdol was there.
It's like, you know that scene at like the end of some of those movies when you look off into the sunset and there's someone there like the thumbs up in the horizon. That's just Ruler as he just like goes into a fiery confrontation.
Yeah, that was slightly over-ambitious, I'm going to say, as he gives away a shutdown and a little bit of gold into LGD's pockets. I don't think it's going to matter too much. They're still 3 Drakes up. They're still absurdly ahead in this game, but it's just a little bit of like come on, man. Object permanence. You know Camille exists, right? So,
you know the reason this will matter? At the end of the day, we will move beyond this series and we will forget largely about the results besides extra things with that. People will remember him missing that play. They won't necessarily remember these destruction team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Meteor's gone again. Pyroclasm came out, didn't do too much. As JDG, not to be deterred, will just continue this slow eradication of LGD. Every time, I gotta say, I kind of respect the gumption from LGD to continue and try and contest their own jungle. They will not accept that this is JDG's jungle just yet. They keep on fighting for it. Keep on dying, but they keep fighting.
It's the worst thing about watching a game like this as, you know, a fan of LGD or someone judging their potential or whatever is that when you are this far behind in the game, there realistically is no good play. You have to make difficult plays. Shearers has gone into the enemy team. Huh?
JDG? This one's a freebie, lads. All you have to do is not in 1v1. But alas, that is where we're at.
You know what I'm saying? When you're behind in the game, there is no good play. When you're ahead in the game, that doesn't mean there is no bad play.
There are
always bad plays to be made if you try hard enough. Sheer tried to get that ult through the wall. Chooses just about the worst angle. We'll need to take him back to. We'll need to send him to Professor Velkoz for trigonometry classes because that was the wrong angle. That was the wrong angle, Joe.
Yeah, that was. There was an attempt. I believe the best analysis is Burdol. Mr. Cannon, nightmare. Can't afford to miss 90 gold in this kind of game, my friend. Maybe going a little too deep on that one, but Burdol now trying to threaten a tier 1 in the bot side. It was answered by Yagao. I wasn't sure if Missing was going to hunt for more, but it will just be quite a slow one from JDG, honestly, off of Ruler way overstepping and then Sheer way overstepping. Things have slowed down a lot. And there is a Zeri and a Camille on the enemy team. Like, Ezreal doesn't survive long against the Camille.
I was about to say, you know, this wasn't a slow game. This was going really fast. JDG exploded the early game, great early Baron take, destroying all of the towers outside of the base. Yeah, well, throwing yourself into the beat grinder, that does slow it down a little bit. And now, I'm just kind of wondering, who's the next person who's going to jump into the jaws of LGD is going to be? Is it going to be Yagao? He's got a Valkyrie and a Flash. He could do it. Bit harder for the Zyra, but I'm sure Missing could manage it too if he just presses the flash key and his W at the same time and messes things. Like, there's a chance. The fact that LGD managed to clean up, you know, a couple of kills, get some shutdowns, potentially get some objective bounties like this, they should not have been anywhere close to these objectives at this point.
Kanavi forced to flash away. A big one just annihilates Shaoye's health bar. As Baron is spawning on the map, Drake's up in a minute as well. And I've realised where this all went wrong for JDG, actually. As Sheer is going to try and find a solo kill onto Burdol. And find it he will. Easy peasy lemon squeezy for Sheer. Off in that side lane. He's had an impressive year for himself. Remember, this guy's pretty new still. This Missing goes in. JinJiao should fall. Sheer tanking up that culling for his team. As Ruler now gets his opportunity to E forwards towards the enemy. This time it's good, though. And Shaoye sent packing. Haichao trying to survive alongside him as Ruler looks to 2v1 the enemy AD carries. Good E forwards once again. He's going to hold his patience, though. Doesn't go forwards, and LGD have stopped the Baron going down.
Yeah, the fact that only Burdol dies in the side lane there to Shaoye is a really good sign for LGD. They survive somehow. The Dragon is spawning as it happens. JDG, they might go towards the Baron and take that, but the fact that LGD can deny the Soul can... Look, we didn't talk about the Soul because we didn't think there would be a Soul. We thought the game would be over by now. It should have been over about 5 minutes ago. LGD, get an objective about it. They stop the Soul. Yes, they'll lose the Baron, but they're getting access to large amounts of the map that they had absolutely no right dreaming of before this.
I don't want to get too excited because they are still 9,000 gold down, or I guess actually 8,000 gold down, plus this tower going down, maybe 7,000 gold down. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I'm being a little facetious here. I do realize the moment that this game went wrong is the second I said we weren't going to have a delay today. We're definitely having a delay today. Burdol stepping perhaps a little too far forwards.
I mean,
it's not a lot more to say.
No, there isn't. I mean, Shaoye has the red buff, which ends up being really annoying because it means that Burdol can't disengage. He face checks into a Fog of War bush, and sadly, when you're losing the 1v1 as a Camille versus the Cassante, even when you have multiple items, that's really not what you picked this champion for. If you're losing that into the late game, that is a detriment to your team, sadly. Shaoye, once again, showing that on an individual level, mechanically, he has really been on point for JDG. He's a player which was playing bits and pieces in spring. He's been the majority top laner for JDG. Of course, in spring was mainly Flandre, but I think he's more than securing his place on this roster, regardless of how new he is to the scene. He has been playing out a lot of these individual plays really, really solidly.
Bottom inhib opened up, Baron push going strong for JDG, and after all of that, Burdol is still pushing in the top side. He's TPing to rejoin his team, but the Nexus tower has already gone down. JinJiao is chunked. Burdol on a flank. Can he find the miracle play? He sort of needs to at this point as JDG open up an inhib, but decide that is enough for them. The flank from Burdol is enough of a threat for them to back away, but no. With the minion wave arriving and Burdol backing off to the mid lane, they suddenly see another angle. Burdol has to return to the play as a Hex flash towards them from missing, but doesn't commit to anything. Ruler just chunking the Nexus tower. In goes Burdol. The whole team turns straight onto him, but Ruler might go down first. Burdol falls and Ruler survives. True shot onto Haichao is missing, soaking up damage from the team, but the Pyroclasm is huge and the carry's still going strong. JDG sent away and LGD keep themselves alive. Blast Cone, the only reason Ruler survives.
JDG, they have maybe had a little bit too much fun in this game, and they are starting to rue maybe some of their decisions that have led to this point. Turned away from the Nexus. They take away an inhib and one of those Nexus turrets. They've opened up another inhib, but the game hasn't ended. There is still a Brand. There is still a Zeri. There is still a Camille. There are big problems here, which are going to become even more so if they are given more time to survive in this game. Ruler E'd just before this point, so he was prime target for Burdol. And he does go a little bit far, but the team fight does end up splitting because JDG go back to face onto that Camille. Pyroclasm, huge value. Haichao stays alive too. Because JDG split so heavily, it makes this fight much more playable for LGD.
And one of the funny things as well is the fact that the Camille and the Zeri are the two sort of scaling picks we've talked about. The Camille also really opens up for the Zeri. Like Burdol pulling all that threat to the backline means Shaoye just had a Sheer and or a Cassante and a Rel trying to kill him. Like, he can survive that, he can dodge that, and he can shred those health bars. And suddenly, you've got a Zeri that is stacking up for the entire time that he's killing a Cassante and a Rel, and then can turn towards the carries. Unfortunately, no way for him to dodge a blast cone with that Q, so does blast himself backwards and save Ruler's life. But all things considered, things are getting a little bit dicier than JDG would like here.
Look, how have we gotten to the point where JDG were the team that was struggling in early game, but you know what? Really solid are those mid to late game team fights. What's happened to that? Why are we flipping that now? It feels like that is not what we came to expect. Not switcheroo. Look, they have great range advantage. They have great poke. LGD have defender's advantage because they can go back to base and heal up, but still JDG should be able to chip down what's left of this base. It is a lot slower than it should have been. This game should have been over at about 27, 28 minutes. It's lasted longer than that. Look at the poke, though. JDG, that should be 3 inhibs now.
Yagao's rockets this game have been absurd. The amount of damage those big ones have been doing. I am fully expecting Yagao to be topping the damage chart coming out of this one with how some of these rockets have been hitting, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Ruler's been hitting some Qs as well. 3 inhibs down. Even with JDG making a couple of mistakes, I don't think it'll matter with 3 inhibs. JinJiao goes in, but Burdol is not there fast enough to follow up. Pyroclasm does some damage, and Ruler is low. Burdol goes back in, but he falls in the end, and missing is on the backline with Kanavi. Triple for Kanavi as they look to Meteor as well. And after all of that, Kanavi 5,500 gold up individually. He's looking to an MVP, 18-9, a 35-minute win. It wasn't clean, but it was fun to watch.
JDG take the first Nexus in the series, probably about 10 minutes later than they should have done. Now, the problem with this kind of game is that when you are held on this pedestal like JDG, a lot of your fans, a lot of the people watching this league will be sitting there watching JDG and going, well, I'm not going to remember the result. I'm going to remember the random deaths as people dive forward. They do walk away with a win, but is that really the story here?
I will say, E-ing forwards on Ezreal, Cassante ulting over the wall into 5 people on your own, these are mistakes that are quite easy to fix. This is
just
you go
don't
backstage,
press the button.
the coach gets his ruler out and slaps you on the wrist, you know, like these are mostly like undisciplined mistakes. This is like happy game moments. We'll see if they can button them up for game number 2. LGD try the damnedest. Nearly came back into it, but JDG were a little bit too much. We're going to jump into a break and find out how this one continues right after.